Hi guys, welcome to Shakespeare with Sarah. Today I'm looking at Tamora's monologue from Titus Andronicus. Have I not reason, think you, to look pale? In this video I'm going to talk a little bit about the context leading up to the monologue so you can think about those crucial bits of information. I'm going to talk about her objective because it's an interesting one here. I'm going to break down all the line meanings for you to help you understand what it's about, and at the end I'm going to do a reading of the full monologue so you can hear how it all can flow together. I'm not going to talk too much about her character because I'm doing that in a separate video, and I will link that for you here and in the description box when it is ready. So let's look at the context. I'm going to assume you know a little bit about Titus already. So let's think a little bit about the scene in particular. We already know that Tamora has sworn revenge against Titus Andronicus's family because he killed her son for kind of no reason in her mind. Like, it's not a war thing, it was like a you have to have a dead son because I have a dead son situation, which doesn't seem really fair to her. She's also secretly hooking up with Aaron the Moor, so they've just been hooking up in the forest, right, while everyone's hunting, and he said to her, I know you're kind of in the mood, because she's like, hey, good to see you, but he says, let's just kind of talk strategy, because I just got your sons all riled up to content warning, rape Lavinia and potentially kill some people, maybe her betrothed Bassianus. And of course Tamora is like, that is awesome, no wonder I love you so much. Aaron says, hold on right here, I'm just gonna go and get your sons. When Lavinia and Bassianus come, make a big deal and I'll tell your sons to like back you in whatever kind of big scene you're making. Lavinia and Bassianus arrive and basically are really rude to her for hooking up with a black dude. They're basically just like, you're a whore and blah blah blah. And she is already pissed, but is now more pissed because, you know, fair enough. Then Aaron brings her sons back and her sons are like, oh no mum, what's going on? You look so pale. And she's like, well, don't I have a reason to look pale? You know, and does a whole big scene. Now this is where objective becomes really important, because what is her objective? Let's think about it. Everybody that's present knows that she is lying. Firstly, she's not scared and we all know it. And secondly, she talks about being enticed by Lavinia and Bassianus to this scary place. And everyone that's there knows that that's not true. So why is she saying all of this? Why is she putting on a big show? Who is it for? If there were other people present and she wanted to kind of show that there was definitely a reason for her sons to, you know, react and kill Bassianus, that would make more sense, but there isn't anyone there. So this is where you need to think like a director. What's really going on here? Underneath everything she's saying, what's the real deal here? Is it just a power play? Is she just enjoying the lie so much and playing it for the lie and just saying, I've been enticed here, and just watching Lavinia and Bassianus squirm because they know that something's going on? Is she just enjoying kind of living it up a bit and going, you know what, we're just going to play this game and let's see how it works out for you? Or is she actually the kind of woman that needs to justify what she's doing, maybe for herself because she wants to think of herself as being innocent, or for her sons because she wants them to have a real reason to be violent? She doesn't want them to just be randomly violent. She wants to think the best of them, and therefore she comes up with this big lie and she kind of enters into it in a kind of deluded way. So she actually almost lets herself believe it so she can believe that she and her sons are in the right. You need to make the decision for yourself about what's going on in her mind. Like, what are the real reasons? What's the subtext, really strong subtext going on throughout this whole monologue? Because it's going to change the way you play everything. It's definitely going to change who you are directing the monologue to, because keep in mind, there are actually lots of people on stage that you can speak to at any point. So think about, in this monologue, your focal points. Is she just delivering the whole thing to her sons, or is she actually getting up in Lavinia and Bassianus's faces and being like, just you wait? It also might be a combination of those. So it might be the case that she kind of enters into the lie at first and just goes over the over the top with it and sells it to herself and to her sons, and then she kind of moves away from it and starts to enjoy the power play a bit more. You can decide that. So look at your beats and decide where is she moving from one to another, and how does that affect how she literally moves around the space and who she's looking at. So let's jump into the breakdown now. The language is actually pretty simple. It's very, very descriptive. So I really encourage you throughout, your goal is going to be to really call up and feel, kind of evoke the imagery as you say it. So play with imagining, 10,000 swelling toads, imagining those toads around you and how it makes you feel when you're doing your rehearsal. Just a little tip for you there. So her first line, fairly self-explanatory, have I not reason, think you, to look pale? That's going to have a pretty punchy start to it because it is a response to a question. And she's being sort of uppity about it. Like, well, I deserve to feel like this. It's valid. My feelings are valid. These two have ticed me hither to this place. Ticed here is short for enticed. It means that they called her here to this place. So she came because they asked. I wasn't just hanging out here making out with my boyfriend. And of course, for when she says these two, think about whether she's indicating to them or whether she just keeps the eyeline to her sons when she's talking to Demetrius. A barren, detested vale, you see it is. Really in your prep, because that's fairly self-explanatory that it's kind of like a scary place with dead trees and stuff, I would really encourage you to take a few minutes in your prep time to sit and imagine the space that you're in, and in fact do a meditation and then get up and move around your space and imagine that you're right next to a tree, touching a tree, that kind of thing. So a location imagination play. That doesn't all have to be shown when you actually do your performance, by the way, so don't feel like you need to wander around the veil, especially if you're taping. But having done that work will help you drop into the character and get way more detail, call up way more emotional connection than if you don't do that work. So here's just describing the trees. The trees, though summer, yet forlorn and lean. Even though it's summer, all these trees are like, they don't have any leaves on them. It's creepy. Or come with moss and baleful mistletoe. I think that's fairly self-explanatory that they're kind of like got little fungi and moss on it. Here never shines the sun. Here nothing breeds unless the nightly owl or fatal raven. Again, self-explanatory. There's no sun coming through. It's a dark and gloomy place all the time, and nothing grows here except for an owl or a raven. Only the creepy birds live here. That's what she's saying. Again, this language, like, she is going all out, right? So why does she need to evoke such creepy things? Her sons know that she's a tough lady and she's not going to be freaked out by a bird. So you got to really do that objective work and really think about, like, why does she feel the need to say these things and describe in such detail? And when they showed me this abhorred pit, now some people say abhorred, there's different pronunciations, so don't worry too much about that. Now this is important, the pit. So I think what I would play with there is like a little bit of glee, because actually the pit is going to be the place where the death happens, where people fall, where the bodies go. And she is a bit of a scary person, so I think she might like a bit of a pit. And actually that line flows together into this big section, so I'm going to read the whole thing. This is really just her describing different creepy things, which I will break down afterwards. You're going to really need to play with vocal variety here, so it doesn't just end up being and then this and then this and this and this. Make sure you are sounding musical almost with your voice when you are talking about all these different things. And when they showed me this abhorred pit, they told me, here at dead time of the night, 1,000 fiends, so that's like little devils, 1,000 hissing snakes, 10,000 swelling toads, as many urchins, urchin in this case apparently means a hedgehog, I looked it up, and that means as many as the toads, so 10,000 of those again, would make such fearful and confused cries, so the ED needs to be pronounced for confused, as any mortal body hearing it should straight fall mad or else die suddenly. She's saying that they've said to me that there are all these scary things here. There's so much scary stuff that anybody hearing these sounds and seeing all these things would just go nuts or fall down dead. The implication there is that Lavinia and Bassianus, having asked her to come here, are trying to trick her so she goes mad or she dies. That's the stakes here that she's saying. And she wants the stakes that high because she wants there to be a reason for her sons to do what they do next. No sooner had they told this hellish tale, but straight they told me they would bind me here unto the body of a dismal ewe and leave me to this miserable death. So after they told me that this place was creepy as... they said that they were going to tie me to a tree, and but straight means like immediately after that, they told me they were going to tie me to a tree and leave me to die. And then they called me foul adulteress, lascivious goth, and all the bitterest terms that ever ear did hear to such effect. I'm going to break that down a bit, and I want to talk about the stresses there, because if we want it to fit sort of the iambic pentameter there are a few things you need to pronounce a little bit unusually. Foul adulteress, so we get the idea that they're calling her a hoe, and you need to actually sort of say adulteress because that's how the rhythm goes, which just might feel weird, but it's a Shakespeare thing, guys. Lascivious goth. Now, in daily life, I would say lascivious, but because of the rhythm, you have to contract it to lascivious, and that's basically slutty. You slutty goth. This is her new thought here, is like, and then they called me a hoe. And all the bitterest terms, you actually have to kind of contract bitterest as well because it has to fit in the line. It's quite a long line there. Lascivious goth and all the bitterest terms that ever ear did hear to such effect is like the worst things you could ever hear. And had you not by wondrous fortune come, this vengeance on me they had executed. So luckily you found me. What a coincidence, or otherwise it would have killed me. So dramatic, Tamora. Revenge it as you love your mother's life, or be ye not henceforth called my children. Really clearly here she set up they were going to try and kill me by leaving me here. So the obvious revenge that I'm asking for here is that you kill them. Okay, so I'm going to do a little reading of the monologue for you so you can hear how I kind of divide up the beats and flow, and I will try my best to give some color to those different images. That is a little bit tricky in a reading because it really is better done when you've done that kind of prep that I was talking about where you're evoking different emotions and stuff. But you know, I'll do what I can. All right. Have I not reason, think you, to look pale? These two have ticed me hither to this place, a barren detested vale you see it is. The trees, though summer, yet forlorn and lean, o'ercome with moss and baleful mistletoe. Here never shines the sun, here nothing breeds unless the nightly owl or fatal raven. And when they showed me this abhorred pit, they told me, here at dead time of the night, 1,000 fiends, 1,000 hissing snakes, 10,000 swelling toads, as many urchins, would make such fearful and confused cries as any mortal body hearing it should straight fall mad or else die suddenly. No sooner had they told this hellish tale, but straight they told me they would bind me here unto the body of a dismal ewe and leave me to this miserable death. And then they called me foul adulteress, lascivious goth, and all the bitterest terms that ever ear did hear to such effect. And had you not by wondrous fortune come, this vengeance on me they had executed. Revenge it as you love your mother's life, or be ye not henceforth called my children. That was okay, I guess. Reflecting on that reading, and just a reminder here, never copy the way that someone else does it. It's not a good practice because you need to connect in your own way. What I noticed there is that it's very easy to kind of make it all one wash of emotion. So you really need to look at the different, I'd probably say do some actioning for this to make sure that she's playing different strategies to get the result that she wants, while still building to a point. So that's tricky. It definitely can be the kind of monologue where it all ends up being like blah, pretty much what I did just then, but at least you have a little bit of an idea of how the language works. So remember to check out that character video that I mentioned. It will be in the description box. I've also got a monologue prep checklist that you can get for free to help you walk through the whole process if you're new to kind of building a Shakespeare character and working on Shakespearean monologues. Drop a like if you found this video useful, subscribe, all those things that I love, and I love you guys, and I will see you next time.